Go ahead and bend your knees, grabbing your block and placing it between your knees or your thighs. Feeling for that triple S. Push down into the feet, give your block a little hug, and we're gonna lift up using the glutes into that low bridge. So a little bit of hip extension, and we're gonna start for a while in the sagittal plane. So that's flexion and extension of the joints. Reach your arms up toward the ceiling with your palms facing in toward each other. I want you to try to keep your ribs in and reach your right arm back any amount toward the ear or toward the back of the mat without the ribs popping up. And then lift back up. Reach your left arm back toward the ear, back toward the back of the mat without the ribs changing. So this is shoulder flexion. That shoulder joint is flexing, reaching up toward the ear, but the lower body is staying really still. The glutes are staying firm. Pelvic points drawing in. Stay in your bridge. Let's reach that right palm up, pull back with the left finger. So now the wrist joint is in extension. Breathe into the side and back ribs. Switch hands, stretch out that left wrist into that extension of the wrist joint. Keep pushing down into the feet. Bring your hands back down. As you take your next exhale, slowly lower down one vertebra at a time until we land the sacrum. Core work's going to be a little different today. We're going to take our block and place it underneath the sacrum into a supported bridge. Make sure that we're not tilting the pelvis either way, but it's nice and neutral. We're cinching those pelvic points in. Our shoulder blades are going to stay on the ground. Reach both arms up just like we did for bridge pose. We're going to add on and move with the breath. So take a big breath in. As you exhale like you're blowing out candles, you're going to pick up your left foot into hip flexion and reach your right arm back. Inhale, the foot comes down, the arm comes back up. Exhale, blow out your candles. Pick up the right foot, left arm reaches back into that shoulder flexion. Inhale, arm comes up, foot comes down. Exhale, left foot up, hip flexion. Right arm reaches up, shoulder flexion. So we're just going to keep moving with the breath. Inhale to that starting position. Exhale, opposite arm and leg move. But we have to use the core to keep the ribs from popping up and the pelvis from tipping around on the block. So really working that stability. Okay, you can lift off the block. We're going to make our way to quadruped and start moving with some rotation in that transverse plane of motion. So from quadruped, we're going to use our block, if you want, on the back of the pelvis, right around the sacrum. So the transverse plane is either rotation of the joints or thinking about your top and bottom half of the body doing something separate. So we want to hold that lower body nice and still. Reach your right arm out. Turn only the rib cage, so it's going to be really small so the block doesn't move. And then thread that right arm under. Keep moving like that. Right arm opens as we turn just the ribs. Thread it under. So pelvis tries to stay still. We're trying not to lose the block, but if we do, no big deal. Good. Right hand comes back under the shoulder. Adjust as needed. So we're in that neutral quadruped. Left arm out. Turn only the ribs without turning the low back. Thread it under. Turn the ribs. Left arm opens. Thread it under. At your own pace, let's try a couple more. Good, hand comes down. Let's move the block aside. We'll do a little cat-cow. Arching and rounding the back. So even cat-cow is that sagittal plane of flexion and extension. Just like walking or biking or hiking, running. Heading to down dog. Keep your knees in nice and tight so our stance is really short as we tuck the toes. Press into the fingers, lift the hips up. Let's make sure the head is a little bit in front of the arms so we're not sinking the chest down or sinking into the shoulder joints. We're going to keep that transverse plane of motion going, so that rotation. Hold the upper body still. Really lift your heels, knees and toes turn to the left. And then knees and toes turn to the right. So we're rotating or swiveling the lower body, but nothing changes about the upper body. Arms stay straight and strong. Shoulders stay still. From your down dog, let's walk the hands back toward the feet into happy squat. Big bend in the knees so we can press into the whole feet. Rise up. Now we're going to do rotation at the hip joint. So that's still transverse plane. You're going to pick up your right foot from the top of this right thigh bone. We roll out. External rotation, so your heel is going to swivel up. And then internal rotation, heel swivels over to the right. Back to neutral, step it down. Pick up the left foot. Thigh bone externally rotates. Internally rotates. Find neutral, and then step it down. So we're trying to hold the pelvis and the low back really still, the pelvic point still, and just isolate that thigh bone rotating, external rotation, internal rotation. When you make it to the front of the mat, we're going to move into that frontal plane, side to side movements, abduction of the hips is one of the movements. So we're going to step our right foot out wider and come into a squat, and then step the feet together. Step your left foot out to the left and squat. So as we step the foot away from the body, that's hip abduction. We're moving side to side in that frontal plane. Keep alternating that squat, step out. Really thinking, sit back into the hips. Good, now find your mountain pose, reach the arms up, shoulder blades lift. Hinge forward with that imaginary broom behind your back. Quadruped. Let's grab our block, place it on the sacrum again. We're going to continue with that hip abduction with an alternating fire hydrant or hip abduction. So we're going to load the left hip, unweight the right knee, bring it out to the right without the block moving, and then land the right knee, load that right hip, abduct the left knee out to the side. So you can move as slowly as you want. Lower body is moving, but the upper body is staying still and strong and stable. Draw those pelvic points in. From quadruped, let's move the block aside. Right foot steps forward, 90-90 lunge. Rise up, ears over the shoulders, shoulders over the ribs, ribs over the pelvis, left glute firm. We're going to reach both arms down, fingertips just reaching down, and we will side bend. That's another frontal plane. Side bend by reaching right fingertips down. Come up, now reach the left fingertips down. Keep alternating. As the right fingertips reach down, we're cinching the right side of the body or the waist to side bend. As we reach left fingertips down, we're cinching that left side, trying to bring the ribs to the pelvis, but we're holding the hips still, holding that left glute firm. Hands come down for quadruped. Right foot steps out to the right. This is still frontal plane. We're going to get into the adductors, the inner thighs, but we'll add some rotation. Take a rock back into that adductor stretch. Now right arm out, just like we did in the beginning. Turn the ribs right, thread it under. Hand comes back under the shoulder. Rock back into that inner thigh stretch. Rock forward, right arm reaches out, turn the ribs, thread it under. One more time, rock back, rock forward, right arm out, turn the ribs, thread it under. Back to quadruped, and we'll step left foot forward, 90-90 lunge. Rise up, check in, imaginary broom behind your back. We're gonna keep this right glute firm and try not to pop that right hip out to the side. Keep it right over the knee. Reach the left fingertips down, side bend left, right fingertips. So we're cinching one side of the body as we side bend, that's lateral flexion, moving side to side. Keep feeling those two pelvic points tighten in, holding that right hip over the right knee. Hands come down, left foot steps out to the left for that inner thigh stretch. We rock back. Rock forward, left arm out, turn the ribs left, thread it under. Hand comes back down, rock back, rock forward, adding rotation, left arm opens, we turn left and thread it under. Back under the shoulder, one more time, rock back, rock forward, open into that rotation and then thread it under. Good, hand comes down, knee comes back in, you've got the choice to cat-cow, take a child's pose, or tuck the toes. Coming into a down dog. If you want to add those swivels, you can, where the upper body stays still, lower body swivels side to side. Let's walk it forward, bent knee, forward fold. Press into the whole feet as you rise up. Back to that side squat or step out squat. Right foot steps out, hip abduction, squat, and then step together. Left foot steps to the left, squat, step together. Move at any pace. Keep the spine long like you have a broom taped behind your back. Find that mountain pose, reach the arms up. Fingertips reach way up, lengthen through the sides. Hinge forward. Quadruped, grab your block, place it on the sacrum. Let's alternate that hip abduction or fire hydrant. Load one hip at a time, other knee abducts out to the side. That's that frontal plane, side to side movements. Keep the arms straight and strong, pressing into both hands evenly. Move the block aside. We'll step right foot forward, This time for 90-90, if you want to tuck those left toes under, you can. Zipper up. We're going to start with the arms out. Now pull the arms back as far as you can without coming into a back bend, so spine stays neutral. We cross left elbow on top, giving yourself a hug. Open the arms out. Right elbow crosses in front. So as we cross the arms in front of the body, that's adduction of the shoulder joint. So that's frontal plane as well. Good, we'll pause, lower the chin down, and let the back round now, adding that flexion of the spine, but keep zippering the pubic bone up to the belly. Lift back up, modified side plank. Left hand can come right under the shoulder, or you can bring it to a block under the shoulder. Left knee slides in, right foot steps back. Let's check in here. We're balancing on that left wrist, left knee, zipper the pubic bone up. We're gonna reach the right arm up and add some rotation here. So we're moving in lots of planes of motion. Take that right arm like you're trying to reach it under toward that left shoulder blade or left side of the ribs, and then float it back up. Reach that right arm under, pelvis stays still, lower body stays still. We're just adding some rotation in the ribs. Thread that right arm under, hold that left shoulder steady, left hip steady. Bring it back to quadruped, and we'll switch sides. Left foot steps forward, rise up. Maybe we tuck the right toes under this time. Zipper pubic bone to the belly, right glute firm. Arms reach out, open the chest. Right elbow crosses over, shoulder adduction. Open the arms out. Left elbow crosses in front like you're giving yourself a hug. So we're trying to move the shoulders as much as we can without the ribs popping or the pelvis tipping. So everything in the spine and the pelvis stays still. Pause with the arms crossed, chin down, round your back, zipper the pubic bone up. Adding that spinal flexion, that rounding of the back. Float it back up, right hand down under the shoulder or to your block underneath the shoulder. Left foot steps back. Secure the right hip and right shoulder so there's no movement there. Left arm reaches up. We reach under, adding rotation for the rib cage, and then reach back up. Left arm reaches down toward that right side of the ribs or right shoulder blade. Reach it back up. Try not to turn in the pelvis or the low back. Keep zippering the pubic bone up toward the belly. Make your way back to quadruped. Again, you can take a down dog. You can cat cow. You can take child's pose. If you're in down dog, press into the fingers, lift the ribs up toward the body. Let's walk it forward, bent knee, forward fold. Press the ground away and we'll rise up. Hands come down. We're gonna step our right foot back into a high lunge. Soften that right knee and really zipper the pubic bone up. We're gonna combine some of these planes of motion, which is called multiplanar movement. So we'll reach the arms forward, add rotation here. So your right arm is gonna circle. And then we're gonna load that left foot, pick up the right leg, Circle that right arm again, rotation. Step it back into your lunge. Rotation of the ribs, circle the arm. Pick up the right foot. Again, circle the arm, turn the ribs. You can always add a tap between. So as we move the leg forward and back, that's flexion and extension, sagittal plane, but we're also adding rotation. So now we're moving in multiple planes. Keep the pelvis from turning with the ribs. You've got to stay really steady in that left hip. Pause in your lunge. You can lower the hands, turn to the right. We'll externally rotate the hips, coming into a goddess squat. Pelvic points draw in. Let's reach the arms out, and we're just going to alternate a side bend. So you can go either way first. Side bending up and over. So that's that side to side movement, that lateral flexion. One side of the body shortens as the other side lengthens. Back up, straighten the legs. We'll turn to the back of the mat. We're going to cross the left ankle or the left knee over into an eagle pose. And then uncross. Now we cross the knee behind the right knee into a curtsy squat. Pick it up, cross it in the front like you're sitting cross-legged in a chair. Unwind, cross behind, curtsy squat. So it's hip adduction as we cross over the other leg. And then as we come to the back, that's also hip adduction. We're going to add on, so come to that eagle pose, crossed in front, goal post the arms. Turn the ribs to the left. Unwind. Curtsy squat, cross behind. Turn your ribs to the right. Unwind. Cross the left leg over. Rotate the ribs to the left. Unwind. Cross behind, curtsy squat. Rotate your ribs to the right. You can try that a couple more times. Holding the pelvis still. We're again moving in multiple planes of motion. This time we're going to step our left foot back, heading back to the side of the mat. Feet are parallel this time for side lunges. You can have hands behind your head. You can reach your arms out. We'll side lunge to the left. And then turn your ribs to the left. Adding rotation. Unwind. Side lunge right. Zipper the pubic bone up. Turn your ribs to the right. So any pace. Side lunges are that side to side frontal plane, but we're adding that rotation on top. So we're moving in multiple planes. Really good for the joints. Let's turn it back to the front of the mat, and we'll do that whole standing sequence on the other leg. So our left foot comes back, high lunge, sagittal plane, hip is in extension. We reach the arms out and add rotation. Left arm circles back. Turning only the ribs. Maybe we add a tap, and then we come to that balance. Circle the left arm, turn the ribs again. Tap or go right back to your lunge. So we're just going to rotate to the left. Come to that balance. Rotate left. Moving in multiple planes, really good for this stabilizing hip, which is the right hip on this side. Push into that right foot, firm the right glute to help you stay stable and balanced. Come to your lunge. Lower the hands. We're going to turn to the side of the mat. Externally rotate for that goddess squat. Zipper the pubic bone to the belly. Alternate those side bends. Getting that side body stretch. Frontal plane movement, side to side. Let's straighten the legs. Turn to the back of the mat. Feet about hips distance apart, and we'll continue that adduction of the hips. Our right toes cross over. They can be on or off the ground. Hip adduction. Cross the hind into hip adduction. So we'll start with just the hip, just the leg. Working the stability of this left hip and left ankle. Holding that pelvis neutral like you're zippering the pubic bone up to the belly button. And then we'll add that rotation on top. Right knee crosses over, goalpost the arms. Turn the ribs to the right. Unwind, cross behind, curtsy squat. Turn your ribs left. Good, so adding that multiplanar movement. Really challenging the stability of that left hip. Challenging the stability of the pelvis as we add more planes of motion or more planes of movement. Let's step that right foot back, turn back to the side of the mat, feet parallel, hands behind your head or arms out. Side lunge, add rotation toward the bent leg, unwind, side lunge the other way, add rotation. So just like when we had the block on our sacrum and quadruped, we're trying not to turn through the hips and the low back, just the rib cage. Let's turn it back to the front for quadruped. Coming back to hands and knees. We're gonna belly roll, move the spine and the pelvis in a circular direction or movement. And then switch directions with your circles. Walk your hands or your fingertips over toward the right corner of the mat. As much as it feels good, you can stay here, really lifting the ribs up toward the body, or you can sit the hips back towards a little bit more of a child's pose, but keep lifting that front body up. Breathing into that stretch on the left side. Walk your hands over toward the left. Sit back as far as it feels good, but don't let the front of the body sink down. We're lifting away from the ground. Breathing into the stretch on the right side. Make your way out of it. You're welcome to end on your back or in a seated position. Wherever you are, we'll close the eyes. Relax your forehead, Relax your jaw. Get any extra movements or wiggles out, whatever you need. Bring your awareness back to your breath. Back to that feeling of the rib cage expanding side to side as you breathe in. Take a moment to thank yourself for your practice today. Sending one grateful thought out into the universe.